Hey, Lisa, what's up?
Hi, John. How are you today?
I'm awesome. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks so much for having me
Of
on.
course. Thanks for calling. What's happening?
Okay, so my overall question is, how can I show love and support for my husband who was diagnosed with depression?
Ooh, tell me
Um,
about that.
yes, little backstory. So we've been married for 7 years, and we have two little kids. And honestly, the first few years of our marriage, we just had a great foundation, best friends, and just loved to spend time together. A few years ago, around the birth of our first child, I just noticed my husband just withdrawing and just seeming really burnt out, which I kind of thought was normal to being new parents. But things just kind of got worse with him, lots of mood swings, um, weight gain, just lack of motivation, always tired, and which just really affected our relationship. And it got just progressively worse. Last year, about a year ago, he confided in me that he was having suicidal thoughts. Sorry.
No, you're okay. You all right? Take a minute.
Yeah.
Take a minute. That's a scary thing when someone you love, your husband, best friend, dad of your kids, says that out loud. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Okay?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, which I'm so grateful that he confided that in me. And it was at that point that I just really, asked him, begged him to seek some help, which he did. He has been going to therapy and started seeing a psychiatrist, and they've diagnosed him with depression, and he's started on medication, and that's all going well, I believe. And so I'm proud of him, but I feel
Hold
like
on. I don't think it is going well.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's going well.
I think I'm trying to believe that it's going well.
I know you're trying to be overly optimistic, and your body is trying to remind you that there's a reality here that you're desperately trying to ignore. What is the reality you're trying to gloss over?
I think the reality is that we could be dealing with depression in our marriage for, forever now. And I think I'm just really overwhelmed with that reality that was never a part of our marriage before. And I feel like I'm now kind of living in constant fear that his depression will lead to suicide. And it's hard when there's good days and I think, oh, great, he wants to get out of bed today and he wants to spend time with the family and, this and that. And then it can just so easily switch to bad days or bad weeks. And so I'm like proud of him for the help that he's getting, and he's not, just pushing that away, and he's not trying to push me away, but it just feels like it's this constant thing now that we'll just never have relief from. And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And it feels kind of discouraging.
So the path for me and you forward is I need you to be like insanely, glaringly honest. Is that cool?
Okay, yeah.
And your honesty will be a gift to other men and women who are in the same situation you're in, okay?
Okay.
And it will probably be scary to say some of this stuff out loud, okay?
Okay.
Are you, at this point, truly worried still about him? Or, right? Both and can be true. Are you really heartbroken that this is how your marriage looks right now?
I think both.
Okay. And it's honest and not a bad thing to say both.
Yeah.
You feel blindsided. How much of this do you feel like a sense of rejection because you can't woo him out of this or solve him out of this?
Yeah, I absolutely feel like it's rejection. And, everything I've tried to learn about depression and whatnot, I feel like it all says that it's not about me. But when you've just been married to someone for so long and they're your best friend, it's like, how can you not take it personal?
Sure. Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. Especially I'm going to say some things and just tell me, yes, I've thought that or said that out loud to myself.
Okay.
We used to totally party. We had sex all the time. And Is it me? Suddenly I'm not attractive anymore because depression and often the medications have some significant impacts on sex life. If you won't get out of bed for me,
Yes.
you won't even get out of bed for your kid, right? Um,
Right.
like it's so beautiful outside. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with our kids that you won't, right? Fill in the blank. Have you had those thoughts? You said those things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, listen to me. I want you to know you're not a bad mom and you're not a bad wife and you're not a bad lover. You're not a bad anything. Okay? You're allowed to think those
Okay.
things and say those things out loud. The more you don't think those things and the more you don't say those things out loud, the more chance you have to end up in resentment. And if you've listened to this show for a second, that's a place I never want anybody to go to. Or has got me contempt, right? Or I just am disgusted by so-and-so.
Yeah, I definitely have felt
I know.
that resentment creeping in this year.
I know. I want to challenge your characterization of things are going great. He's getting better. It doesn't sound like if he still has weeks, plural, where he won't get out of bed, can't get out of bed, he needs to seek inpatient treatment. This is a big deal. Has he considered that?
I feel like it's never gotten to the point where he won't get out of bed for days on end, especially since he's been getting the treatment that he's been getting.
Okay.
But there's definitely just that withdrawing that happens that sometimes just takes me by surprise, where it seems like, oh, last week, you wanted to go on a date night with me, or you wanted to get out on a Saturday, and this week you don't really want to be around, or you just want to go straight to work, or you want to just stay in bed for a long time in the mornings and not really be with us. And I can just tell, I feel like I know him well enough to see when there's that dark cloud, and it feels like a whiplash sometimes.
Well, a critical part of getting well is recognizing when the dark cloud starts when the clouds start gathering, and getting an action plan as far upstream as possible. Have y'all talked about that?
Not really, no.
Okay. It's time for you to either join him in his counseling, not with a psychiatrist, but with his counselor, or y'all two go to marriage counseling, because you're going to play a huge part in his recovery. Because let me show you how this thing will work if y'all aren't careful. He'll feel a little bit better. He'll come out of his room ready to be the dad he wants to be, ready to be the husband he's been before and wants to be. And the whole pace of the house will be moving really fast. And he's got these tiny steps and these tiny wins, and the pace of the house is fast. And then suddenly you, not for any fault of your own, not even close, and I'm begging you not to wear this personally. You'll say, hey, can you go grab this thing quick? The kid's got to go to... And his body will go whoosh, right? And then he'll feel embarrassed and ashamed that he can't be the guy that he wants to be. And his body will tell him, told you so. And that withdrawal begins slowly right there. And he'll fight it because he's trying to do right, and he's trying to get better. He's trying to be whole. He's trying to be the guy you want him to be, and the kids he wants him to be, and it gets exhausting. You see, it just gets in this shame loop. So y'all go meet with somebody, and here's the purpose of meeting together. You are his eye in the sky. Like the old pirate ship, you're in the crow's nest, and you can see way further down the road than he can. And when you see him take an extra 15 minutes to get out of bed, and he skips X and skips Y, and suddenly here we go. Y'all will have agreed upon a plan that he's a part of. Here's where depression and healing gets really messy. We all know that motivation is a terrible master. Motivation's a terrible god. And so he's going to have to learn to do things when he doesn't want to, doesn't feel like it, doesn't feel motivated to do it. And in the nerd world, we call it tiny wins, tiny steps. And if you take those tiny wins and tiny steps, you're teaching your body that you can, and that's the path out, right?
Right.
And you don't want to bother him and don't want to burden him, and he doesn't want to bother and burden you, and then we get in this weird loop, and he feels like he's missing out on his life, and then he feels ashamed, and then he does miss out on his life. And here we go again and again and again. Does that sound like your home?
Yeah, I would say so. Exactly.
Okay. I don't want to give depression victory over your house. You said something in particular I want to hone in on. Everything was great until y'all had a kid. That tells me this started episodically. It started with a trigger. Is there
Yeah.
something from his past that just flipped a switch for the black cloud?
Oh, I think it's very likely he was adopted.
Okay.
And I think, and he's never vocalized it as something that he's struggled with. But in recent years, since we've been married, he's been in contact with his birth family and gotten to know them a little bit and formed some relationships there. And so that's one thing that I've always kind of wondered or thought if that was playing a part with us having a kid and really starting our family, if that was bringing out any triggering things. He was adopted at birth.
Okay.
And he's had challenges, like normal in life, but that's one in particular that I've wondered if there's some unresolved,
So here's what I want you to do. I want you to not refer to him as a guy with depression.
Okay.
I don't want you to refer to him as a guy who may be struggling with an inner child wound from an adoption. Both of those things are probably true. But I want you to respond to him as his best friend and his wife, and also a co-parent who needs some help. And he's going to learn to say out loud, I can't today. But when you give up on him, or you stop saying, hey, we agreed upon this and this today. Are you able to be a part of it today? And if he says, no, it's not about you, it's about him. But I don't want his purpose to leave his home. You see what I'm saying? And I know it's a tricky balance between purpose and shame and all that kind of stuff. He needs to work that out with his counselor, and y'all will work that out together. But it goes back to that old, the high school football coach when he says, when I stop getting on to you, that's when you'll know I quit caring. And so I don't want you to get on to him, but the moment he realizes, I don't play a role in my house anymore, man, that depression cloud gets darker and blacker and blacker. So he's got to know that he plays an important role in your life, right? And at the same time, learn to carry that weight. Okay, here's the last thing. We've talked about him this whole call. Real quick, I want to talk about you.
Okay.
You, in this new picture that is your life, you have to make some sort of peace that this is the way this is right now. And the more you drag what used to be into the present, the more you're choosing a different layer of misery in the present. You're not choosing to be miserable on purpose right now. Life threw you a curveball. Your husband's sick, okay? And by the way, I talk about OCD, I talk about anxiety. Depression is scary. Depression's real. Okay, well, those other ones are real too, but I put it in a different category, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's scary and it's real. And it's real for your life right now. And that means you're going to have to grieve what was. And you're going to have to practice living into what is right now. And what does that mean? You have to choose right now in this new season to do the things that you need to do with the limited space and capacity you got to be well and whole. If you turn into his mom, you're going to bury yourself in the process.
Yes, that's what I've been learning.
When's the last time you went out with your friends?
Oh, it could be a while.
Yes.
I should make that happen.
On the regular. When's the last time you went to the gym or went exercise by yourself? Went for a walk by yourself? No kids, no nothing.
Oh no, I have no idea.
Okay. When's the last time you reached
Sometimes
out for
I
help?
feel like, yeah.
When's the last time you called someone for you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have a great support system in my family, but
you don't use them.
Use it more.
Yeah, you don't use them. When's the last time you dropped the kids off for somebody and said, I'm going to go swimming. I'm going to go get a massage. I'm going to go and some things cost money and some don't. I'm going to go for a hike in the woods. Because here's what happens. You stop doing things because he feels guilty that he can't do them with you. And then you stop doing them and then you get buried and then you resent him. Fair?
Yep. Definitely fair. And sometimes I resent the fact that I feel like I can never have a bad day because I feel like he takes up all the bad days.
Why aren't you allowed to have a bad day? Is that true?
No, it's not true. It's how I feel.
Okay. So, same as the last caller, I want you to start to write down these things that you feel. I want you to get them out of your body and write them down. And then I want you to be honest about asking yourself, is this true?
Okay.
And my guess is you're telling yourself some stories. This is going to be forever. He's always going to be like this. Is that true? Probably not. Are there tiny wins? Have you seen tiny wins over the last year? Maybe not. Maybe not. But if you go back and look at a trend line, maybe he's staying in bed 2 days out of the week in the mornings instead of 5 days. Or maybe he'll go for a walk with you in the afternoons. Or maybe he'll fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. And so let's celebrate those teeny tiny wins. I don't want you to be afraid to say, hey, honey, I need you to go for a walk with me. Someone's coming over to watch the kids. You and I are just going to go walk in the sunshine for 20 minutes. And I know the doctors told you guys this, but exercise, fish oil, I mean, there's some things that have shown some pretty remarkable efficacy depending on the type of depression he's got, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But I need you to commit to giving your kids a mom who did her best to find joy in a pretty messy situation.
Yeah.
Okay? You're allowed to have fun and you're allowed to laugh and you're allowed to go be with your friends. And if y'all have a great date night one Saturday night, and the next Saturday, y'all have a date planned and he's like, I'm not going. I want you to have a friend or two on call that you can call. Say, cool, I understand. I'm going to go out tonight. And I'm going to go grab some coffee with the friends or go to a movie or go do a thing. And I want you to begin to ask yourself, what are those things I need to do? And I want you to begin to ask yourself, once or twice a week, who am I going to call to come pick up the kids so that I can go X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank? And I want you to be honest. Am I allowed to have a bad day? Yes, you are. You're allowed to be frustrated. You're allowed to cry. Yes, all those things are true. But I think all this begins, I want you to reach out to a marriage counselor that's probably tough to find one that specializes in that particular thing. But I want you to talk to somebody about seeing you and your husband. And if his counselor will do it, great. About how to be married to somebody who's struggling with depression right now. And what are some things y'all can do together to catch this thing way upstream before it goes off a cliff, and make sure y'all have a suicide plan, and make sure y'all have a plan for what joy looks like, what self-care looks like, all those things together. He's lucky to have you. I don't believe this is forever. I really don't. I don't. But in the meantime, I want you to focus on the only thing you can control, which is you, and showing up for your kids, showing up for your husband, and showing up for you. Thanks for the call, Lisa.